Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we have three outstanding Nevada journalists with Frank Mullen, Mark Robison, and Ray Hagar. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
What kind of a man lies to women? This one. Steve Sisolak is lying to us about abortion, opposed to contraceptives, no exceptions for rape or incest, abortion ban. Joe Lombardo doesn't support any of those things. Sisolak is a desperate man trying to hold on to power. Our schools are unsafe, police are under attack, and families are struggling. What kind of a man covers up his failures with lies? This one.
Pro Group Management is the place where companies can find workers' comp solutions that are designed to meet their specific business requirements. As regulations evolve, Pro Group takes a proactive approach to clear the path to make sure your business stays ahead of the curve. Knowing your workers' comp program is optimized, you can focus on other important matters related to your growing business. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, I could not be more pleased to have this group of gentlemen here with me on the program today. It's going to be a fascinating show. Ray Hagar is here, a longtime reporter for Nevada Newsmakers, former Reno Gazette Journal reporter, covering politics. He's been with Nevada Newsmakers 19 years.
Yes.
Bless you for being here, and I appreciate that,
Thank you.
friend. Mark Robison covers politics for the Reno Gazette Journal, and Frank Mullen, former RGJ reporter and now editor of the Reno News and Review. Pleasure to have you all here.
Thanks, Sam.
So, let's start with you, Frank. When I talk to people, the number one question they're asking me these days is, what do I read that I can trust in terms of news? How do you respond to people when they say that to you?
Depending on what they're talking about in terms of...
I think they're talking about politics.
Right. But locally, I would say the legacy media, the TV stations, which admittedly are fairly shallow in their coverage, the Gazette Journal, the News and Review. I would say stay away from the myriad of blogs and podcasts and, you know, all the stuff that is funded by the PACs and conspiracy theorists. And the local news sources are shrinking. So I think we're in trouble locally. Nationally, I'd say Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, New York Times, reputable. They have a reputation for integrity. They're not perfect, but they try to do a good job on it. And I think the same thing with the RGJ and local reporters. We live here. We don't have an axe to grind, and most of us have been here a while and care about the community and want to get accurate information out there.
Mark, one of the things that I'm most proud of is that I get complaints from the right and the left that I'm so biased. And that tells me that I'm right where I want to be, which is nobody really has a clue of what my positions are, and that's a great place to be. How do you respond to what Frank says?
Well, I've got to agree. I think that we do a good job, and one of the things when I took this job, I was at the Reno Gazette Journal for a while, took a few years off, and when I came back, I decided that I didn't want to fall into any traps, and I really wanted to reach out to people who felt like their voices weren't being heard, and it took a while to get back where people didn't want to talk with me. I would have to meet with them in person before that they would feel comfortable because they had this impression that the media was biased. And sometimes I think it definitely is, and it does bleed out into some stories and headlines and analysis pieces. But I think generally locally, local news is what people want to support because it is struggling, as Frank said, and but we're on the ground. We meet face to face with people, and anyway, so I've been trying to build back trust with people, and so I've it's taken a while because people really just became this shift where I think what Frank pointed to is that people were getting news from social media links that maybe didn't go back to reputable places, that weren't sourced, that people were just sort of making things out of whole cloth basically to support an agenda, and then it just sort of feeds on itself. And the more you repeat it, the more it becomes true. And so it's getting back to basics and trying to. Leo Tolstoy had this saying where he didn't want his readers to know which characters he sympathized with, and I don't want readers to know which sources I sympathize with, and so that's just been a goal.
So many people will say to me, I read this somewhere, and I'm picking up on what Mark was saying, and I asked them for the source, and they have absolutely no idea what the source of the information is, and that scares the heck out of me, is that they are believing things that they it's like I wrote it down and I read it, and I believe what I read, and so obviously it's true. It makes no sense.
Well, I think in things like that, many times people did not read it. It came to them by word of mouth. And our media now is so fragmented that you can zero in and only listen and watch media that reinforces your point of view. And I think that's what's happened with America today, is that we have a society that watches the news channels that reinforce their points of view. And it's really hard to find on the national scale, a news outfit that is like the old Walter Cronkite, Eric Sevareid days, right down the middle and report the news and let the chips fall. But it's not like that anymore. It's totally changed.
It's interesting that Ray says that. I was talking to somebody who I very much respect, a business person, who said to me, and I'm not picking on Fox News because I'll pick on all of them, but they like to watch Fox News because they know it's not necessarily true, but they say what they would like to hear. That scares me.
Yeah.
Does it scare you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you see a lot of that, especially now prior to the election, and it doesn't, you could throw all the facts you want at a lot of these folks, and they're like, no, I believe what I believe. It's my right to have, basically are saying it's my right to have my own facts. And of course it isn't.
That's crazy.
But yeah, they cling to, in the face of all debunking, they cling to some idea, and they flat out tell you, I will never change. I will never, there's nothing you can say, there's no evidence you can present that is going to make me think differently. This is just the way it is. And I know it in my heart, and that's enough, which is a bizarre way to look at public policy and make decisions, particularly as to candidates. So
we've been. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, I'd maybe give a somewhat contradictory perspective on that, and so I recently gave a talk at Ollie on this topic, the sort of lifelong learning thing through the university, and one of the things that I talked about there was the name of the talk was "Kind Reporting in a Time of Outrage," and I think that bringing a kind perspective to the people on both sides can help them hear your message. And one of the examples that I gave was earlier this year there was a proposal before the Washoe County Commission to completely overhaul the political election system and how it was handled. And there was a fact checker in another media outlet that I suspect the fact-checking was 100% dead on of this proposal, and it just went through of how everything was illegal or stupid or, completely off base, and it was written in a way, and including the headline that was fairly condescending, that you're stupid if you don't see this. And the people who most needed to read that didn't get past the headline because they felt that their view wasn't being taken seriously, that they weren't being respected. And there was a fact checker that I wrote after that was somewhat related, involving the same people. And I went out of my way to say that, I could see how they thought this because X, Y, and Z. But, here's what I found. And I went back and forth of, here's my conversation with this person where we tried to get to the facts. And I said this, he said that, on and on. So and it was done in the most respectful way, and I got criticized from some people saying I was too respectful to the person. But people read it, people listened to it, they were able to hear it, whereas sometimes when you're told that, these are the facts and it's just what it is, and too bad if you're so pathetic that you can't hear it, you can't hear it when people talk to you that way. So I think there's a way to approach fact-checking that makes people feel heard, and that's an important way to do it.
So this is the revolution of journalism, because journalism has been going down a similar path for a long time, like probably the last 30 years. And now there needs to be a change in the way we present news and opinion to people so that they can look at it in a different light that Mark's suggesting. Do you agree with that?
I don't know, Sam. When I think of this, fact-checking and fake news and alternative facts, I go back to the day that Kellyanne Conway first uttered the phrase alternative facts. Well, they have their facts, we have our alternative facts. And it opened up a Pandora's box, people saying, yeah, that's right. It's not necessarily the truth. It's what we believe to be the truth. And another thing that has really hurt the credibility of the news media is Donald Trump and his minions shouting fake news, because a lot of people have picked up on that. And I've never heard the phrase before Donald Trump came into our consciousness. Politically, that is. And I think that has really had a chilling effect on the media, because here a president of the United States is telling the people that news sources, trusted news sources over decades, sometimes even centuries, are no longer credible, they're fake news. And it's where we are today, where everybody picks and chooses what they want to believe, and what they believe is the fact. It's almost like it's Orwellian to me. It reminds me of 1984, where they keep just switching the facts and switching the enemies.
Okay, so I'll bring another side to that, which is that over the last decades, we have seen news channels on cable, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, who have taken a political position to get ratings that therefore brings them more revenue. Where a network news program might have 2-minute commercial breaks, CNN can go as long as 4.5 minutes in commercial breaks, and they make literally billions of dollars. But they're presenting one ideology over another. You pick the channel as to which ideology is being promoted. Does that not feed into this concept of fake news?
Oh, of course. I mean, it's polarized news. So each side gets to call the other, fake. But I don't know about CNN. I think CNN is more towards the center of MSNBC, and I think Fox News is way over there, on the right. But yeah, it's all pretty much polarized, and that's nothing new. I mean, in the 1800s, you had Democratic papers, you had Republican papers. You knew when you picked up Pulitzer what the editorial position was going to be on any given issue before you even read it. So I don't think the polarization is that new. I think what's new is the presentation of complete BS and people, taking up, the election fraud, the big lie. It's been debunked by courts, by auditors, by secretaries of state, by registrars. I mean, there's no way. There are no sides to it. There are no interpretations of it or alternatives to it. It's a freaking lie. And I think it's incumbent on us as journalists to say that right out. And that's certainly what we're doing at the Reno News and Review. Laxalt opens his mouth in the first 3 paragraphs. I don't care what he says. Any story about Laxalt, the first 3 paragraphs are going to say he is the biggest salesman, or he is Nevada's biggest salesman for the big lie. And it is a lie. And Laxalt is lying about it. And it's kind of refreshing because saying that in print as a journalist, we never do that. Because saying lie or liar makes you read the minds of the person who's saying it and know their intent. But in this case, it's indefensible. And it's kind of refreshing to me that when I mention Marchant or mention Laxalt, I make sure the reader knows this guy is a freaking liar about the election. And I think by saying, well, I can, he says this, and it's still a little shaky when it comes down to those zombies voting. They did find one guy and whatever. No, you cannot parse it. It's a lie. It is a dangerous lie that undermines democracy, and I've been quite thrilled to point that out at every turn because you can't do a he said, she said on it. And when I was getting press releases from Laxalt and he wanted to, do his attack on Catherine Cortez Masto or whatever, I would send his campaign email back and say, thank you for your information, but here's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the big lie and why you still claim to believe it after this, and this. Let's talk about that. And of course, he doesn't want to. And he stopped talking about it as soon as the real campaign got underway. That was his cause célèbre even before the election. The election was rigged before it happened, according to him.
Okay, but to present another side, there are those that will say, look at the messages coming from the left, and especially the extreme left, and there are lots of things to pick up on there too. Is that a fair statement or not, in your opinion, Mark?
Well, both sides certainly have problems, but you get into that debate of both sides isms and false equivalency, and the issue with widespread election fraud. It's simply not a thing. And so I did long interview with the head of elections at the Heritage Foundation, and he flat out said widespread election fraud is not a thing, but there are election issues that need to be dealt with, and in Nevada, and here they are, and you should deal with them, and that when it's easy to overlook that there are some problems because you fear that, well, if I say that there's problems with these election things, that the voter rolls aren't as clean as they could be, that therefore I'm a supporter of the big lie. And so I think it keeps you from looking deeply enough. And I also, the big lie, it's not something I use, and it's definitely a thing that mainstream journalists have been told, that pointed out every single time that this is what we're going to do. But it alienates a lot of people, and so the way that I phrased it, like at the Donald Trump rally recently, was just that he said this. It's found his attorney general, his aides, the conservative coalition led by John Danforth, the Republican Nevada Secretary of State have all investigated this and found no evidence of it. And I think repeating that over and over eventually sinks into people, whereas saying the big lie over and over makes people put their armor on and want to do battle.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Big oil makes big profits. To lower our costs, you gotta stand up to them, big time. Not Adam Laxalt. He's Big Oil's best buddy. As Attorney General, he tried to block a fraud investigation when Exxon got caught lying. Then, oil billionaires spent millions supporting Laxalt's campaign. No surprise from Adam Laxalt, who keeps making money from stock he owns in ExxonMobil and Chevron. He sells us out and cashes in. SMP is responsible for the content of this ad.
The 10th Annual Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, your RTC, our community. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. Compassion, accountability, integrity, respect. The Nevada Mining Association, mining a better future for Nevada. And NV Energy. NV Energy proudly serves Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with Ray Hagar, Mark Robison, and Frank Mullen. Ray, your thoughts on individuals. We saw this with Jeff Burns during the last legislative session where he wanted to take control of a chunk of Story County and contributed vast amounts of money behind the scenes that became public and was eventually pretty much stopped from doing that. We have other people trying to do the same in the state. It's not something new, but what are your thoughts on single people with a lot of money trying to control things?
Well, I think they have a lot of influence. I don't think we would have had a Joey Gilbert contested election with that kind of influence.
Okay, so hang on a second. We'll take another quick break and then we'll come back. I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker, and you've got a lot of convention space and meeting breakout space for people. Tell us about what's available.
Well, we can handle a group up to about 250, and anywhere as small as 10 or 15. So it really depends on what you're looking for, what the customer's looking for. We're open to anything. It's a beautiful drive, and if you live in South Reno, it's probably about 35 minutes, so it's real easy to get to. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
What do you count on? You count on your power every day. At NV Energy, we've always powered what's important to you, but we're not looking at the past. We're focused on the future. While our standards are high, our rates will remain low. And our commitment to renewables isn't just meeting standards, but leading the way. Because you can count on more than just your power. You can count on the company who brings it to you. That's our promise. You can count on it.
The Nevada Builders Alliance has been protecting the interests of the construction industry for over 50 years. Our programs save members thousands of dollars every year and allow them to provide much-needed benefits to their employees. Our industry also allows Nevada to grow. If you're thinking about a career in the construction industry, reach out. And if you haven't thought of a career in construction, what are you waiting for? We are the Nevada Builders Alliance.
The 10th Annual Nevada Newsmakers Goes to Washington is brought to you by the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, your RTC, our community. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you. University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. Compassion, accountability, integrity, respect. The Nevada Mining Association, mining a better future for Nevada. And NV Energy. NV Energy proudly serves Nevada, providing electricity to 2.4 million electric customers.
Retail's impact on Nevada's economy? Enormous. 8,600 businesses, large and small, employing 145,000 workers. And last fiscal year, retail paid tax on nearly $60 billion in sales. We're the Retail Association of Nevada. We support retail, we help it grow, and we mean business.
RANNV.org.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
I'm back on Nevada Newsmakers. We continue our conversation with Ray Hagar, Mark Robison, from Frank Mullen. Quick response, Mark.
Well, as far as having one person with a lot of money, I think that certainly happened in Washoe County, where politics have gotten a lot dirtier with demonizing people, and I just don't think it helps the overall community conversation, because it makes people unable to reach consensus when the other side is evil.
I agree with Mark, and in this current cycle, just yesterday I counted 32 pieces of mail, direct mail, with mostly attack ads. Of those, 11 were local races. Of the remainder, 13 came from 3 PACs. One Nation PAC, Born in America, and Better Nevada PAC. And so they're throwing millions and millions and millions into this. And I wouldn't be surprised if the 32 figure doubles in the next 2 weeks, let alone the next month before elections. And we're seeing that at local level too. Just tons of money going into school board races or commission races.
And sadly, we're out of time. Let's do this again. I would really love to have you guys back. A lot of knowledge at this table that doesn't include me. We'll be right back.
Truck drivers are some of the hardest working people you'll meet, delivering over 70% of America's freight and 92% of Nevada's. When there's a natural disaster, they're delivering critical supplies to help those communities recover and rebuild. Every sector of the economy and our nation's military rely on truck drivers. So let's take a moment to say thank you. On the open road or city streets, our truck drivers are rolling to make our economy and our nation stronger. Trucking moves America forward.
Ahern Rentals began as Signal Gas Station on Las Vegas Boulevard. Founder John Ahern grew the business by offering rentals. His son Don built on John's legacy, growing Ahern Rentals into the largest independently owned American rental company, with 89 locations in 30 states. Don also brought his experience and vision to equipment manufacturing with Extreme Manufacturing and Snorkel. Today, Ahern Rentals continues to bring its family values to a new generation. Learn more at ahern.com.
Pro Group Management specializes in providing industries with the necessary components to satisfy and exceed workers' comp requirements. Every business has unique needs and specific regulations. Pro Group Management stays ahead of the curve, providing up-to-date services to keep your industry in top form. Discover how we simplify your tasks, improve efficiency, and reduce expense to keep you moving in a positive direction. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
As always, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers 24 hours a day at nevadanewsmakers.com. You can also check our archive going back to 2005 on our website. Again, nevadanewsmakers.com. We'll see you on the next show.